Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone had a good lunch and you're ready for the second half of today's programming. We have a special day programmed specifically, mostly to youth today. So I'm very happy that I'm seeing all of your faces, youth-ish, young-ish, youth, old and oldish. I like the mix. So welcome to day 2 of the Bocas Lit Fest. My name is Mariel Forbes. I am the Youth and Hospitality Manager, and I'm really happy to welcome you here today to our youth debate. The topic that we will be contesting is the brain drain. Can Trinidad and Tobago retain its best talent? And we're very happy to partner with the TT Youth Parliament and the JB Fernandes Memorial Trust. We have with us 4 university students and 4 secondary school students. It's a mix, so we have 2 university students and 2 secondary school students on each team. And they are both going to argue for and against this topic. Good luck. I hope the trophies also, we have them here as a little bit of inspiration. So good luck. I'm going to now hand you over to our youth program coordinator, Chineri Herbert. I'm sure you're related to that person. Yeah, so Chineri will take over from here. Enjoy.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mariel, for a warm welcome. Welcome to the audience, to our special sponsors and partners, to our judges, and to the debaters. Welcome to the Festival Friday Youth Debate here at the Bocas Lit Fest 2025. As you already heard, my name is Chineri Herbert, and I work as the Youth Project Coordinator at Bocas Lit Fest. Today, I'll be serving as the chair madam, for this exciting event. Today's debate features 2 teams of talented young debaters who will explore the question, can Trinidad and Tobago retain its best talent, or are youth forced to seek success overseas? This debate challenges participants to consider the opportunities available to young people in Trinidad and Tobago, and whether we are doing enough to keep our brightest minds at home. Each team has 4 speakers and will present their arguments in a structured format. The side each team argues was decided in advance via coin toss. The students on the 4 team are Kiran Ragbir, Tevon George, Zion Benjamin, and Zachariah Goodridge. On the opposing team, we have Jhada Charles, Kesiah Joseph, Marquise Acres, and Jhada Charles. Let's have a warm welcome for the debaters. On today's judging panel, we have some wonderful special guests here. We have Berkeley Semple. Let's have a clap for Berkeley. Right. Sarah Inglefield. Woo. And Lawrence Arjoon. Woo. So let's go. Let's start. Are you all ready? Okay, 4 team, you'll have the floor.
Right. Good afternoon, honorable judges, members of the opposing team, members of my team, and to everyone who are here listening. So today I speak on a matter close to the heart of families across this nation, the future of our youth. Why are our brightest minds, engineers, teachers, doctors, choosing to leave? Why are so many young people feeling forced to migrate just to make a decent living? And most importantly, what can we do to change that? Now, as of 2023, the youth employment rate in Trinidad and Tobago stood at over 10.1%, more than twice the national average. This was quoted by a source on the Newsday in November 2024. The graduates from the University of the West Indies have reported that 36% of them cannot find jobs in their fields here. Another source, Trinidad Express 2024. This is just an employment issue. It is a national emergency. Every time a young person packs their bags to find work overseas, we lose more than just a body. We lose a potential innovator, entrepreneur, or a leader. Now, based on that small introduction here, the audience probably wondering, whose side am I on? Am I on the opposition side or am I on this? But this is where my points actually start. So some may argue that youths migrating to the other countries, Europe, US, the UK, that it would bring in remittances. And yes, in 2023, Trinidad and Tobago received about US $150 million in remittances from citizens abroad. This was a source. The source from this was the World Bank data. But let me ask you this. Can remittances build a sustainable economy? Can remittances train our next generation or strengthen our industries? No. Remittances help family, but they do not develop a nation. On the other hand, we have repatriation. This is when our skilled professionals return and they can transform our economy. They bring with them new ideas, global networks, investment capital, and a willingness to build at home. So instead of just accepting immigration, how do we bring our people back and keep our young people here in the first place? Now, let's begin with what the government did previously to help create employment for youths. In November 2024, the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service launched the Trinidad and Tobago National Youth Employment Policy, or TTNYEP. This policy is a major step forward. It focuses on skill development, labor market alignment, stakeholder partnership, access to finance for youth entrepreneurs. The source for this is the Newsday 2024. But we must go further. Here's how. Education reform. Our Ministry of Education, the curriculum must match today's job. And this is what our previous Minister of Education, Dr. Nayan Gadsby Dolly, aimed on. She said coding, green energy, and digital marketing is not just a theory, but it must be aligned to the different job aspects. Entrepreneurship and support. The youth development of Trinidad and Tobago, the National Youth Development of Trinidad and Tobago, they provide youth with real capital, not just advice, grants, mentorship, and startup spaces that can turn ideas into enterprises. Just recently, there was a program where the former Minister of Youth Development and National Service, Mr. Foster Cummins, he gave out land to many agriculture students for them to start up their own agriculture sector. Furthermore, we have incentive repatriation. The government offer tax breaks and startup packages for returning nationals. So let's welcome them home and not make them feel like strangers, right? because they have all these incentives to start up. And it's not only a government work, you know. The government not only trying to work to provide employment for the youths, we have the private sector as well. The private sector, they create internships, youth employment, pipelines, and innovation labs. For example, just recently I was looking for an internship program for myself, and I realized Tucker Energy Services in Trinidad and Tobago, they offer an internship service for students like myself, which is employment if you think about it, right? Our communities too, they help promote a culture of building locally and not escaping globally. Therefore, we must shift from the mindset from I have to leave to succeed to I can stay home and lead. Other nations have done this. India created tech hubs that attracted repatriates with capital and know-how. Ireland built a global Irish network to reconnect with its diaspora. And Trinidad and Tobago is doing the same with vision, unity, and bold investment. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot afford to lose another generation of leaders, innovators, and dreamers. Let us create a country where youth don't need to leave to find the opportunity, but stay to create it. Where remittances are replaced with real investment and brain drain is replaced with brain gain. Let's build a Trinidad and Tobago where our talent stays, returns, and thrives. My colleagues on my side would further speak on how migration impacts the GDP, the HDI, the human index of our country, and many other factors, negative factors that happens through migration. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ragbir. As a reminder to the audience, the motion today is, can Trinidad and Tobago retain its best talent, or are youth forced to seek success overseas? Therefore, the for team is arguing that Trinidad and Tobago can retain its best talent and youth are not forced to seek success overseas. And the against team is arguing that Trinidad and Tobago cannot retain its best talent and youth are forced to seek success overseas. Thank you. So we will now open the floor for the against side.
Good afternoon, everybody. I rise not just to debate, but to testify. I speak for the young Calypsonian who rhymes truth to power to half-empty rooms. I speak for the national footballer with more holes in his cleats than medals on his shelf. I speak for the student who topped Cape but had to crowdfund her way to college abroad. Because people, the truth is bitter but very much clear. Trinidad and Tobago is not just losing its best talent, we are driving them away. Our youth aren't leaving out of disloyalty, but because staying feels like a sentence. They don't flee their country, they flee stagnation, silence, and systems that fail to see their worth. This country is facing a silent emergency. Our best and brightest are leaving, not in a wave, but in a flood. According to the International Organization for Migration, over 70% of Trinidad and Tobago's tertiary educated citizens live abroad. And as much as we call it migration, it is an evacuation. We are not just losing people, we are losing engineers, doctors, teachers, thinkers, and creators. And in turn, we're gaining empty chairs and lost potential. Now, Dr. Hamid Ghani, lecturer at UWI, said it best. We are producing world-class talent with no world-class support to keep them here. Our most skilled minds are trained locally but trained globally. We invest in students, we educate them, we celebrate them at graduation, and then we abandon them to a stagnant job market, outdated institutions, and a lack of opportunity. So they leave, not because they want to, but because they have to. And let's be honest, in Trinidad and Tobago, success often feels like an export product. We cheer when a Trini wins an award in New York or London, but we rarely ask why they had to leave in the first place. And until we build a society where talent is not just born, but valued, supported, and retained, this crisis will continue. And we will remain a country full of potential, but empty of possibility. Now, according to the Central Statistical Office, youth employment is still prominent, but the problem runs way deeper. Underemployment is rampant. Graduates are being handed degrees and then offered jobs that barely require a high school diploma. Engineers become clerks. Teachers drive PH taxis, and creative minds are driven to take survival jobs in call centers. Thousands of graduates are leaving universities with degrees in engineering, education, ICT, and the arts, only to be met with a job that cannot sustain them. The result? A generation of bright minds working in roles that have nothing to do with their qualifications, earning far less than they deserve. Imagine spending 4 years studying engineering only to end up doing data entry for minimum wage. Our graduates with honors in education but working in retail because there are no teaching vacancies, or worse, no schools in good condition to teach in. Now, Dr. Roger Hussain, a respected labor economist, has warned, we are creating more graduates than our job market can absorb, and we are not adapting fast enough to global demands. The problem is not that our youth are unqualified, it is because our economy is unprepared. Outdated industries, sluggish diversification, and limited innovation mean that our most talented students are constantly being told, wait your turn, or worse, you're overqualified, as if it's a liability in being competent. We're not just losing people, we're wasting them. Wasting their education, their passion, their years of effort, and in return, we're gaining empty chairs, idle hands, and a generation forced to dream smaller than their real, true potential. In a nation bursting with rhythm, talent, our creatives are told that their future lies elsewhere. And I reiterate, they do not leave because they want to, they leave because they have to. Because staying means stalling. Because here, success in the arts often comes after the plane ticket and not before. We train musicians who can't find venues, dancers who can't get funding, and the filmmakers who can't get a screening unless it's in Toronto. In 2023, the government announced over 760 million TT for the Ministry of Sport and Community Development. It sounds impressive, it's a very big number, until you realize that the money is spread thin across dozens of national bodies, many of which are still begging for the basic resources. Just 5 major sporting organizations had to split a mere 4.2 TT million to fund international competition. These are not passion projects, these are professions. And yet in Trinidad and Tobago, creative and athletic ambition is treated like a hobby until someone makes it abroad. Then we slap their faces on billboards and pretend we've always supported them. Our creatives and athletes are not asking for handouts. They are asking for a system, a fair, functioning, funded system that allows talent to grow at home. And until we build that, we will continue exporting excellence and importing regret. Now, it is clear and urgent, a sad reality, that Trinidad and Tobago is not retaining its best talent. Our young people are not betraying their country. They are escaping systems that have failed them. Whether in the lab, the classroom, the recording studio, or the sports field, they are being forced to look outward because inward offers no future, no sustainability, and no hope. This is more than a debate. This is a call to action. And until we create a nation that values, supports, and invests in its young minds, not just in rhetoric, but in reality, Trinidad and Tobago will continue to build dreamers only to watch them soar elsewhere. I will now ask my colleagues to expand on these critical points. Thank you.
Thank you to the first speakers from the both teams, Kiran Ragbir and Kesiah Joseph. We now welcome the second speaker from Team A, the Foresight.
All right. Good day, Honorable Chairperson, judges, and worthy opponents. Today we argue not just with facts, but we argue with faith in our nation's youth. Trinidad and Tobago is not a land of lost potential, but it is a land that is brimming with opportunities. The notion that says that success only lies beyond our borders, it lies about the power that we have as a people, our power to innovate, our power to create, and it denies our true Trini spirit. Our youth aren't forced to leave this country, they are simply choosing to explore. And with the right vision, we can inspire them to stay right here in this country. You know why? Because Trinidad and Tobago can't retain its best talent because success is no longer a foreign concept to us. Success is a local reality in the making. Many of our youth aren't being pushed out by a failing system, but rather they are being pulled towards global opportunities because of the ambition that they have. The difference is critical. Trinidad and Tobago is not a place to escape from, but is a place where our youth, they stay and they grow. Now, would y'all believe me if I told y'all that many of these systems that these first world countries have in Trinidad and Tobago, in some aspects, we are equal to them, and even in some aspects, we even surpass them. So before we decide that we're gonna jump ship and go somewhere else, we should first take time to acknowledge and appreciate some of the things that we have in this country. Firstly, our education system. We have the GATE program. This gives free or subsidized access to tertiary education similar to government funding systems in Canada and the UK. Universities like UWI, UTT, Custard, they offer degrees in law, medicine, engineering, business, and creative arts. That shows us something. We have systems in place right here to help our youth to afford the dream job that they want and help them make something for themselves. Secondly, right here in Trinidad and Tobago, we have entrepreneurship support. Kariri Business Hatchery, Netco, YBTT, they function just as startup accelerators in the US or the UK. These programs right here in Trinidad and Tobago, they provide our youth with funding, mentorship, training, and networking. Similar to many of the things that they have in many other countries, we have it right here. So it shows that if our youth do decide to leave, it's not because we don't have it here. It's not that we don't have the opportunity. It's right here. It's just that our youth, they choose to go abroad because they simply want to explore. Thirdly, there's a culture and creative industry we have right here. Trinidad and Tobago has a thriving music, film, fashion, and festival scene, supported by Creative TT, Film TT, and events such as Cari Festa, Fashion Week, and Panorama. Just like creators in LA or London, Trinidad youth can share their talent through simple things like YouTube, Spotify, TikTok. We cannot say we don't have opportunities to go global when we literally have artists in Trinidad and Tobago who started their own careers right here and made it a name for themselves in the global world. So all of these programs shows us something, that we don't have to go abroad to make something of ourselves. We have systems in place right here in Trinidad and Tobago to ensure that our people make it. Would y'all believe me if I told you all this? That a college tuition fee 1 year in the United States, that could cost approximately the average person's salary for the entire year in Trinidad and Tobago. The average tuition fee in the United States of America, it's anywhere between $30,000 US to $50,000 US. Now, when you convert that to TT, that's anywhere between $2,100,000 to $3,500,000. That's more than the average person's salary that they make in Trinidad and Tobago. So if our youth decide that they are going to go abroad, this means that their parents are now going to have to pull out this money and pay for it. But right here in Trinidad and Tobago, through the gating program, our youth, they have access to get a degree for much more cheaper, much more accessible, and it's right here and it does the same thing for them. In some cases, they even get these degrees at a faster and a more easier way. For example, University of the Southern Caribbean, right here in Trinidad and Tobago. Do you know that to get a nursing degree there takes simply 3 years? But if you were to go abroad, it takes you approximately 4 years. That shows us that right here in Trinidad and Tobago, we have opportunities. They are much more faster, and guess what? They teach you the same exact things. So it shows us something. We have opportunities right here. We have talents on our youth. They are taking it and they are using it. Now, in case my colleagues on the other bench would say in Trinidad and Tobago, we don't have any proof of this, we have multiple proofs right in front of us. Our former Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley, he would have gotten both of his MSc and his PhD right in UWI St. Augustine in Trinidad and Tobago. It shows us something. You can get an education and make yourself a political leader right here in Trinidad and Tobago. Another example would be Dr. Michael Trotman, who would have been a leader during the COVID pandemic, and he would have helped educate us, inform us about many of the things that is happening. Where did he get his education? Right here in Trinidad and Tobago. There was no need for him to go abroad. Thirdly, Aaron Duncan, a young calypsonian and soca singer, he didn't have to leave Trinidad and Tobago to make a name for himself. Where did he do it? Right here in Trinidad and Tobago. Next, Marshall Montano, the king of soca. He didn't have to leave Trinidad and Tobago to make a name for himself, but he stayed right here and he grinded, and now his music, it hits global charts. That shows us something. We don't necessarily have to leave here to make a name for ourselves when we have the proof right around us. In fact, there are many people who are proof right in front of me, because many people who are here today, they study in Trinidad and Tobago and they are making a name for themselves right here today. Now, the members of the opposing bench, they said that we cannot retain our best talent. Now, I think that statement is untrue and a bit hypocritical, because firstly, we see proof of it, and secondly, they for themselves are studying in Trinidad and Tobago, the same land that they say cannot retain its best talent. I think that's a bit hypocritical, isn't it? They are getting their talent right here in this country, getting their skills right here, and they're saying we can't. Talk about biting the finger that feeds you, right? It could be a bit hypocritical. But we have proof right here, and we are the proof that in Trinidad and Tobago right now, we are living in this country, working in this country, and making a name for ourselves through our education system. So let's be clear. Youths are not running away from Trinidad and Tobago. They are rising because of it. The opportunities we have are right here. The support is right here. And the local success stories, they already exist. So I close by saying this. In Trinidad and Tobago, we do not lose our best talent. But if they choose to go to the first world country, it's not that we lose them. It's not that we don't have opportunities. It's rather that we launch them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tevon George from the Affirmative team. Our judges have their work cut out for them. We now open the floor for the second speaker of the opposing team to continue their case and highlight further points of conflict. The time for the second speaker is between 5 and 10 minutes.
Good afternoon to the distinguished judging panel, my respected colleagues, you the beautiful members of the audience, and thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity to participate in this debate. Now, the debate topic is whether Trinidad and Tobago can retain its best talent, or are youth forced to seek success overseas. And Madam Chair, 2 speakers went before, and it is better if they didn't contribute, because I am yet to hear a compelling, irrefutable, indisputable, and bordering reality argument that my learned friends from the opposite side has yet to present. In Trinidad and Tobago, one would think that our greatest export is oil and gas, but you'd be wrong. It is human potential. It is our talent. The reality is that gifted athletes, some of our best and brightest students, and young professionals that can greatly impact the economic development of our nation are all seeking success outside of this country's borders. Because to them, the opportunities, the resources, the infrastructure, the tools to propel them to success are not attainable if they stay in this country. Anyone trying to convince you otherwise is telling you that the sky is green when you can see with your own eyes that it is clearly blue. The hard truth, the reality, is that under the present circumstances in this country, if we do not change, Trinidad and Tobago will continue to lose its best and brightest as it significantly has over the years. A study done by the Fund for Peace, a governmental research and educational institute based in Washington, D.C., has concluded that Trinidad and Tobago has consistently scored highly on the Human Flight Index. Now, this human flight is commonly referred to as brain drain. It is the immigration of citizens from their home country to another. In 2024, with a score of 0 being the lowest and 10 being the highest, Trinidad and Tobago scored a value of 6.7 points. Now, comparatively, the world average is 4.98 points. But for the past 17 years, from 2007 to 2024, this country has an average of 7.37 index points. This data only confirms what many of us know to be true, that this country is failing miserably at retaining its best talent. We must seek to acknowledge this for what it is, a national crisis, and stop living in the illusionary fantasy that persons have a better chance of success, better economic success, better use of their skill sets if they remain in Trinidad and Tobago. Madam Chair, let us delve into the world of sports in this country where our national athletes are concerned. From since the days of renowned multi-track athlete Atto Boldon, who left Trinidad when he was 14 years old for the United States. It was there where his talent was scouted, where he trained, where he went to college, competing in collegiate competitions, becoming better and better until he soon represented Trinidad and Tobago internationally. Can our opponents positively say that if he stayed in Trinidad and Tobago with the facilities and resources available to him in 1987, that he would have won all those medals, or that his name would be on that stadium that we passing up and down in Cuba? Now, if they say yes, in the word of Lord Nelson, you hear lie? That is lie. Continuing on the road of our history, our most famous footballer in this country, and arguably regionally, is Mr. Dwight York, hailing from the small shores of Tobago, a football legend within his own rights, not just regionally, but also internationally. However, his success did not start in Trinidad and Tobago. It was in 1989 when he was scouted and signed to Aston Villa in the United Kingdom, where his career began his upward trajectory, propelling him to play for the greatest football club in the entire world, Manchester United, a key player in their treble-winning season with the likes of David Beckham, Ryan Giggs, and his famous partnership with Andy Cole. I want the other side to convince us that if Dwight York had not been scouted, that if he stayed in Trinidad and Tobago, he would have achieved his global success. From the 90s to the 2000s, not much has changed. Our athletes are still actively seeking scholarships to be scouted and professional contracts abroad because they know that they cannot reach their full potential if they stay within the shores of Trinidad and Tobago. With our limited facilities, outdated coaching methods, and a lack of competitiveness and exposure. A modern example is Jereme Richards, a world-class sprinter and medalist. He placed fourth in the 400 meters at the Paris Olympics last year. Jereme has not lived or trained in Trinidad and Tobago in years. He currently lives in Florida, where he trained alongside the likes of Noah Lyles, an Olympic gold medalist. An opportunity he surely would not have achieved if he had remained in Trinidad and Tobago, because the infrastructure, the coaching expertise, and the access to elite competition to maintain his world-class performance is simply not here. The likes of Kenya Yaya Quadna, a breakout star in women's football. She has played in the United States, in Norway, in Australia, and she's now signed to a Turkish team playing in a competitive women's Super League. Like many of our athletes, she does not live, train, or earn money in Trinidad and Tobago because the success that these athletes are trying to achieve is not attainable here. My friends on the opposite side, may argue that Trinidad and Tobago does retain its best talent because many of our athletes still proudly represent us on the international stage. But representing a country and living, training, and thriving professionally in that country are two completely different things. They may wear the red, the white, and the black, but I am not sure if it would be arrogance or ignorance to think that representation equates to talent retention. Trinidad and Tobago is not retaining its best talent because we celebrate when our athletes wear our colors or wave our flag when they win a medal, but nobody questions that they trained in Florida or that they trained in London. The truth is that they had to leave to actualize their potential, and every bit of their success was planted, watered, and blossomed abroad. This is a fact that even our government knows. Why do you think that the Ministry of Sport and Community Development has implemented the Elite Athlete Assistance Program to support high-performing athletes and facilitate their success and superior training both domestically and internationally? They receive funding to assist with their travel expenses, accommodation, training, and coaching fees because even our government knows and recognizes that there is a lack of domestic infrastructure, and this is their attempt to give our athletes the ability to excel abroad where they can't at home. If we transition from the field of sports and turn to education, where the reality is not much different, and my counterpart has touched on this earlier, but it is very important that I stress on this point further. Every academic year, hundreds, if not thousands of students leave Trinidad and Tobago to pursue advanced degrees in the US, Canada, or UK, because although our domestic universities and institutions may provide a foundation, they lack the specialization programs, the resources, and the funding necessary for expertise or niche fields. Although scholarships and GATE funding provide them with the financial access to study these fields abroad, what happens when they complete their study and want to come back home? They either remain unemployed or due to a lack of job opportunities, they are underemployed, working in positions that they are overqualified for. Our students aren't leaving to explore the world. They are leaving because staying here means limited degrees, limited jobs, limited opportunities, coupled with unlimited stress. They have no choice but to migrate their expertise, knowledge, and talent to a country that ensures that their quality education is not wasted but put to good use. This lack of opportunities, resources, and a limited job market also affects the economic stability of this nation. It is of no surprise that young professionals are leaving this country that lacks the ability to employ or adequately pay them. In countries with stronger economies, the opportunities for them to thrive and build success are endless. Madam Chair, the opposition argue that things are improving, or may even say that they came with success stories of their own of persons who stayed in Trinidad and Tobago. But for everyone who stayed, there are hundreds who had to leave to unlock their full potential. The question before us is whether this country has the ability to retain its best talent, and in that aspect, we are undoubtedly failing. If we want to fix this issue, take this as a plea to our government, to our investors. It is time that we confront the facts. Our systems as they are, the infrastructure as it currently stands, lacks the capability to retain our best talent, whether it be sport, education, or economically. We cannot expect a seed to sprout unless we water it and provide it with the sunlight to grow. To that same effect, until there's a change in investment, in opportunities, and in development of our citizens across all fields, our best and brightest will continue to leave this country, not because they want to, but because they have to. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jhada Charles from the opposing team. You all might be wondering where we get these young people, because they are prepared to make a statement, on both sides. And we have the UTT Parliament to thank for that. I want everyone to put a round of applause for the UTT Parliament. Miss Kesiah Peterkin from the UTT Parliament assisted us greatly in scouting these young people, so we could at least say there is local talent. But let's see who will come out on top. We have a 10-minute break now for the rebuttal preparation, and we will reconvene at that time for the rebuttal and the closing arguments. Thank you. Okay. We will be resuming shortly. So can everyone please take your seats? Judges, whenever you're ready. Okay, thank you everyone. So welcome back to our Bocas Youth Debate. For those of you who are now joining us, we are about midway through the debate, and the topic is, can Trinidad and Tobago retain its best talent, or are youth forced to seek success overseas? On the break, someone asked me, how are they judging this debate? We just clapping or, but I am here to let you know we have a very distinguished judging panel at the front here, Mr. Berkeley Semple of the Queen's Library, Ms. Sarah Inglefield of Answer McCall, Mr. Lawrence Arjoon of the Heroes Foundation. So we have a distinguished, yes, we can clap. We're very grateful that they took the time today to be here for this debate. So let's get back into it. We have what they call the spice of the debate, the rebuttal, coming up now. I welcome the third speaker of the Affirmative team.
Good afternoon, judges, colleagues, opponents, and the audience. It's my honor to rise in defense of the proposition that Trinidad and Tobago can retain, and we are retaining to some extent, our best talent, and youth are not forced to seek success overseas. The opposition asserts that success must lie outside of our borders, as was spoken to with these national athletes who may have sought refuge away, as the opposition would put it. However, I return to the words of President John F. Kennedy in his 1961 address. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. The issue of emigration is a real one. According to the UNDP report on migration in Trinidad and Tobago, current trends and policies, it showed that it's, however, not only a Trinidad and Tobago problem, but it's a regional problem. And this report acknowledges that the main factors leading to this emigration is the lack of opportunities and poor remuneration packages, as illustrated by my colleagues. Now, the issue of employment, let's focus on that one. Former Minister of Public Administration, Alison West, speaking at the ministry's career fair last November, noted that nearly 25% of the public sector positions, the permanent public sector positions in Trinidad and Tobago, are vacant, which is over 13,000 jobs available. So we, on my side, contend what is missing is alignment and awareness of the jobs available for persons. The former administration launched the Public Service Career Portal, which seeks to pool all of the available jobs in the public sector together, so members of the public at a fingertips note can go there and see what's available. It's not fully populated at this time, but it's a work in progress. The Ministry of Labour in 2023 also begun a job vacancy survey for the private sector and state enterprises across the country, with the aim that job seekers could know what jobs are available. We also see that in the institution of programs and policies like bursaries, where it's tied to the Vision 2030 goals of the country. Now, we also acknowledge that not everybody is academically gifted, and some people, they're better with their hands and stuff like that. The previous administration, as mentioned by my colleague, through the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service, did a tremendous job, and we hope that some of these programs would be kept. So we saw Youth in Agriculture, where we got 1,000 new young people into farming this year. We gave them grants and subsidies and starter homes so that they can get involved in this industry. There's Fuse, which dealt with electricity and electricians. There's Pipe that deal with water, and Pipe and Wasser, and Hoist, which deal with cranes and Amplify, and all of this multitude of programs that were available. Now, my colleagues on the other side had a happening for the issue of sport. So let's go to sport. Did you know that in Trinidad and Tobago, you can earn up to $1 million TT if you win a gold medal at the Olympic Games? And this is more than the majority of the developed world. And my colleague did mention the Elite Assistance Program. However, this program is just there to give you that edge. We have the facilities in this country. We have the National Racquet Center, the National Aquatic Center, the National Cycling Velodrome, the Hazley Crawford Stadium, the Dwight York Stadium, the Brian Lara Cricket Academy, the Quorland Beach Sports Facility, to name a few. And my colleague spoke about coaching. We have the coaches here. The same Dwight York that my colleague would have spoken about is currently the national team coach for Trinidad and Tobago. In TKR in cricket, we see Ravi Rampal and Dwayne Bravo coming back home to be the coaches, and they live here. Jareem Richards lives here in Point 14. The national swim coach, former Senator Anil Roberts, has guided the national team to many Carifta and CCCAN medals. So we have the coaches, we have the infrastructure, and what is being done by these persons who choose to go away is just to sharpen their skills up, because in the end of the day, they still represent this country here. When it comes to entrepreneurship, you have to ask yourself, is Trinidad and Tobago a business-friendly economy? In entrepreneurship, we have innovators like Dareem Jeffrey, the owner of Eco Wash, the only legal car wash company in Trinidad and Tobago, which uses just 2 liters of water to wash your car. They won many local awards, like the Greenleaf Award, the EMA, and the Netco Award, and they even got a grant from Ansa McCall too. National, let's talk about Netco. Netco is supporting micro and small business people with grants, and they're not only giving you the money, they're educating you and supporting you and training you how to get your business going. And in their goal was 1,000 people per year, and they've surpassed that goal for last year. And Trinidad and Tobago also has a multitude of industrial and agro-processing facilities. And they offer these facilities at an extremely affordable rate to local people. And these are managed through e-tech. And then after you make the product in the facility, we have Export TT there to assist you with exporting the products internationally. Now, we all hear about the US currency issue, but the government in November 2024 reintroduced the Exim Bank Forex window to allow for the importation of items into the country. This $25 million monthly input allows businesses to purchase items to improve the economy. And in April 2025, that's last month, a small and micro business forex window was also introduced in the country. Now, my colleague spoke about doctors and nurses. Now, we understand, and there was a report done on the emigration of nurses from the Caribbean with focus on Trinidad and Tobago. And it raised some of the challenges that my colleague would have mentioned. And this report is older than I am, and the challenges are still present today, but we're fixing it. We saw it mentioned inadequate remuneration and benefits, and it spoke about unfavorable working conditions in the system, in the healthcare system. We see the Couva Hospital and multi-training facility is earmarked to be a training facility. It's majority owned by the University of the West Indies to train and improve the capacity of our local nurses and doctors. We see the new Port of Spain Central Block. If you walk outside, you might look up and see it. That is also earmarked as a new training facility for our nurses. And we have the Point Fortin New Hospital, the Arima New Hospital, the Sangre Grande Hospital Complex. We have infrastructural upgrades down in St. James. We have the new Diego Martin Health Center and the new Carenage Health Center. So all of this is improvements in the quality and the infrastructure that the workers have, making them stay. And not only that, the new administration has said we're starting negotiations at 10%. So by the time they're done, we'll be soon up to a 2025 standard of wage and income. Now, we have to address that, there's this want by people in Trinidad and Tobago to experience foreign. Everybody always wants to go foreign and experience it for a little bit. However, are they really prepared for what going foreign means? The World Population Review shows that the most desirous and desirable US states, California, New York, Florida, have the highest cost of living. Rent, food, insurance, healthcare costs dwarf that minuscule $3 that we pay here for health surcharge. When you go in the hospital, you could get a free x-ray, a free CT scan, and a free surgery. In the US, you're paying for all of that. And in Canada, you're paying more in taxes for that. When we look at PTSC, you're paying $2.90 US cents to go from Port of Spain to San Fernando. My bad. You're paying US $2.90 on the New York City Transit subway system. But in Trinidad and Tobago, you could take a bus from Port of Spain to San Fernando for $1 US. You could take the ferry from Port of Spain to San Fernando for $2.20 US, cheaper than the US. And property tax here is way cheaper. Property tax that everybody here is complaining about, there's none. If you leave and you go for it, you have to pay it there. Tuition is subsidized here, but over there it's not. So while they might pay $100 US here for your important fees, you're not getting that while you're away. So in closing, the person and the challenges is not that opportunities don't exist or that remuneration is too low. It's about making the life of people here, making them understand the benefits of living in Trinidad and Tobago and what it really means to go foreign and live. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zion Benjamin of the Affirmative team. We now welcome the third speaker for the opposing team for their rebuttal.
Good afternoon, audience, judges, my colleagues, and my somewhat so worthy opponents. Here today, I will be representing Speaker 3, mainly going over the rebuttals and main points to denounce the information that was spoken so haphazardly this morning and the minutes before you. Please, I do apologize for what you had to sit through. Firstly, I'd like to go in order. The first speaker, Mr. Kiran Ragbir, stood up here and proceeded to say points so illegibly in our favor that I was thinking of not even debating myself. He said my points for me. So with that itself being said,
After listening to the first speaker, I believe there's not just 2 teams in this debate, but 3. You have the team for, you have the team against, and a team for and against. He spoke on the 2023 missions, yet spoke on and made the actual point that it was in 2023, yet tried to go over our heads in listing that in 2024, UE, with the most recent survey, showcased over 30% unemployment with their graduates. Information that I have you here that he will not tell you. 61.8% of UE graduates are employed. But what if we turn to foreign countries? What if we turn to countries that the second speaker listed, such as England, Canada, and the United States, boasting nearly 80%, 98%, and 91.4% respectively? These sources can be easily found, if not using ChatGPT, easily found online on the actual sites for these colleges respectively. It is not that hard to find. Now, what is hard to find is the point that the first speaker was trying to make, saying that youth are going abroad, yet they are coming to be welcomed home. What are you welcoming? Jesus Christ, man. So baffled with what you said. I'll come back to it, so sorry. I like to say here, the second speaker argued about tuition abroad and the amount of money that is taken if you were to choose that. Yet, I don't believe that he understands how to use Google and type up what a scholarship is, but he does understand that Trinidad and Tobago youth have the ability to do this, yet he stated himself that your success is not a foreign concept. Maybe it is for him. Again, welcoming home our youth, but what are they here to be welcomed to? If talent is left from our country and comes back, do we honestly retain the talent? What is the point in launching a rocket if it stays in orbit or never returns? What is the point of having such opportunities that were listed by the 3 previous speakers, yet they cannot give me a single answer to why the youth are still migrating to other opportunities abroad? Why is there still a statistic that I can easily find online about the immigration statistics and percentage of the youth going to foreign countries? Why is there such a notable talk about the youth going abroad that I know many of you, even today, know someone, family members, friends that is abroad? Why is it so precedent to the point where there's a literal Bocas Litfest debate about it? Why is it even a talked about topic if we have so much opportunities, so much to keep our youth here, so much to retain them, and so much to welcome them back home too? The second speaker was talking about biting the hand that feeds you. Yet he does not understand that the youth are simply letting go of the hand that taught them how to walk in favor of learning how to run. And if you and your colleagues and your mentality to stay in Trinidad and Tobago that holds back their talents and limits them from the greatness that they can achieve, then maybe this debate is not for you. I'd like to list for you some certain facts that my colleagues have stated, that my colleague will reinstate to you in the conclusion. The fact is, Trinidad and Tobago has the ability to breed success, yet not the ability to retain that success and keep them here. We are breeding those with such talent and amazing ability, yet they are forced to go abroad to actually put that to work. Because what is the point in actually doing so much work years on end to only end up in a job way underqualified for your limits? Trinidad and Tobagonians do not limit themselves. I know for sure I do not. And I hope that for the rest of you, I hope that for the rest of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, thank you. I do not hope that for them. The reasons of overqualification are very evident. The reasons have been stated by my previous speakers and will be reminded to you. But just to educate, not you all, because I believe you all know this, but to educate my opponents, the overqualification of students in Trinidad and Tobago is so evident that though you have made points of tuition, somehow property tax and traveling fares, I did not know what that had to do with the debate about retaining talent, but in the end, I still wrote it down because it seemed important to you. You talked about all this, yet the Trinidad and Tobago youth still take it upon themselves to go abroad because they know the risks. They know what is out there for them, yet they still understand it is a better situation than they have here. It is a better statistic that they have out there for employment after their jobs, after they have finished their education, boasting the difference that Trinidad and Tobago is a society that relies on, yes, they do rely on merit, but there are other qualifications. There's the whole old people saying of, it's not what you know, but who you know, where Trinidad and Tobago is now coming into a society that holds social status and connections over actual merit. This is very evident. And also the factual statistic that you need actual working experience for most qualified jobs, advanced enough in the career that you're possessing. In foreign, there is none of that. It's a simple, streamlined process, and also you get the ability to travel abroad and not limit yourself, not just academically, but physically, because it's very nice to travel abroad. The second speaker would like to use us as an example that we are living proof that Trinidad and Tobago has talent that is staying here, yet you do not know me, good sir. You do not know if I am going to travel abroad anytime soon. You don't know if I've been to Tobago. You don't know what my plans are. I'd like to tell you that I myself do wish to travel abroad. I myself do wish to advance my studies, and that does not mean that I am running away from Trinidad or biting the hand that feeds me. That means I am not here trying to limit myself to the expectations and mentality that the opponents are trying to push on you. Most recently, they want to talk about sports. You want to talk about sports? Winning an Olympic medal qualifies you to win upwards to $1 million. Quoted by speaker number 3. Yet, where do they train for this? You listed stadiums in this country, but are they up to standard? You listed coaches that are of this country, but why do they still call international coaches? You say all this, yet I still have questions, and you still haven't answered, and I bet a bottom dollar, I will give you $1 right now, if your concluding speaker dares to answer any of the questions I posed today. You spoke briefly on what your colleagues said, that there are challenges in nursing, specifically that are still here, older than you, that are being fixed. Yet, where are the fruits of your labor? You spoke of points planting the tree, yet I see no fruit. You spoke of the future and the percentage that you hope to see coming into 2025, yet I see no cold hard statistics showing what has been gained from this. All of you have the pattern of listing what Trinidad and Tobago has, what they have to retain our talent. Yes, you are reading the actual title properly. Can Trinidad and Tobago retain its talents? You're going to give us actual facts of what we have. Yet, is it working? Is it working? Because I've sat here for so long, yet I haven't heard any actual proof on how it is working, any statistics that the immigration of the youth has been lowering down, anything like that. I seem to be out of points. Yet I am not out of topics to speak about, because you gave me a lot to speak about. Again, I like to say, the lack of something implies the lack of something you need. Trinidad and Tobagonians do not actively need anything, but actively want. So the fact that they are actively going abroad is a show on want. And you and the government and Trinidad and Tobago as a whole cannot quantify if they can retain any talent, no matter how much you sit up here and talk about everything we have in place. You cannot quantify for the factor of a person's personal desire, a person's personal preference, their want, and the natural free will to do what they want. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zachariah Goodridge. The judges will be deliberating shortly after we have the conclusion speakers on preparation, evidence, statistics, analysis and argumentation, and presentation. There will be an opportunity for the audience to pick a crowd favorite, which will also come after the conclusion. So I welcome the conclusion speaker for the affirmative team.
Good afternoon to all the judges here, members of the audience, my esteemed colleagues, and members of the opposing team. Admittedly, I was taken aback. I thought that the dramatic part of the Bocas Lit Fest happened this morning and was going to happen on other parts, but it seems as though the spoken word came early. So, seeing as that we have members of the opposing team who did not understand, for the most part, the arguments that were made, let me use my rebuttal to clarify. We are talking about situations where we have no evidence to support strong economic social indicators. Let's provide something as that we didn't hear them the first time. Trinidad and Tobago can boast that we have a high GDP per capita compared to our regional counterparts, as second only to the Bahamas. We see that that has been used for the investment of the youth. We talk about a lack of understanding for why it is we mention in the PTSD buses and all of that is because if it is you choose to define success as how much money you have in your bank account, let's actually look at the specifics. We see a situation whereby if it is we exist in, let's say, the United States, where it is we claim to get all the success, that big salary that you have there is going to be divided up a lot. If it is you're going to have to pay for your own health care, which you don't really have to do here, pay for that tuition that you're going to be saddled with for an extended period of time, or face the repercussions of going to a university, for example, sharing your opinion, and then getting arrested and deported back home that we see in those very countries that you want us to go to. Those are what we are talking about here. If that is the opposition's definition of success, by all means, we should all be successful by then. But that's not what we are talking about. We are talking about the sustainable success that we can find within our very borders and jurisdiction. We could point to the very low unemployment rate and the one that is comparable to that of those same big foreign countries. We could talk about the Human Development Index, which, according to the United Nations Development policies, we see that we have one of the highest in the world, all right, higher than some of those developed countries that you speak of. We see a situation where it is economic diversification and our specific shift away from oil and gas has led our economic growth in areas such as agriculture, tourism, the creative industries, and logistics. We see the development of the special economic zones and the innovation in areas such as the Phoenix Park bolster and nurture that level of innovation. We see that the IMF as well reported, to quote some statistics for you to again understand the point, that the non-energy sectors are the ones that are driving our economic growth. We see situations whereby the business processing outsourcing. We see that investments of over $245 million have been invested in the overall economy. Additionally, 3,000 jobs were created via that, as well as a projected amount of 4,000. We see that there's a great appeal for our Trinidadian graduates in these very areas confined within our jurisdiction. Youth entrepreneurship, let's reference that. 135 plus entrepreneurship have been able to attain that level of success that we are using to measure, which is being able to enjoy that success by assistance granted to them by the YBTT as of 2023. They have generated over $5 million in revenue and 119 jobs created because of it. We see here that innovation ecosystems such as the UE Stacy, Kariri, NIDCO, and other national grants supported by the Ministry of Planning and Development exist right here. So, seeing as that we are prone to Googling, all of that information is available online, as well as our government has in fact provided online resources, seeing as that we like to Google, for us to be able to access those jobs. TT Biz Link. If it is we see that our youth are unable to get access to opportunities in order for them to reaffirm the success and the dreams within these very jurisdictions, I think you are kind of putting our youth you're shortchanging them. Saying that our youth can't Google to find a TT Biz Link job is really, really a damning sentence to what I think are very successful, knowledgeable, and very empowered youths. We see additionally that the creative economy has been supported by agencies such as Music TT, Film TT, Fashion TT to promote local talent and international markets. We see artists like Nyla Blackman and Marshall Montano, as my colleagues have belabored with their success, talk about their global reach that came right here, that was nurtured right here. We see that, for example, healthcare and education. If it is, we need not look further than just the pandemic. that showed us, for the most part, that if it is we want to compare apples and oranges, these big economies of scale such as the United States and Europe, which one of them had the highest mortality rate when it comes to the pandemic's effects? We talk about how it is our healthcare system has been failing. In the United Kingdom, for example, we see situations where it is a 7.5 odd million persons still waiting to see a doctor via the NHS. All of those speak to the fact that if it is we don't have all of these different things here, this is not a unique story. It's not a situation whereby this is a Trinidad-only problem. Every country faces it. It faces issues, and in Trinidad and Tobago in particular, we have seen movement in the right direction. Additionally, we see that new hospitals in Arima, Sari Grande, and Port of Spain have been expanding these medical trainings and have encouraging a clean and prominent working environment with robust systems. Now, just to mention lastly, the diaspora engagement. My colleague belabored the point as well. Not only are we seeing persons going out to getting that enhancement, but they are also coming back in. So your analogy about the rocket staying in orbit, as factually untrue as that may be, it also is not applicable in this situation. These and more are what we have to see and see as the migration, which has historically been a pathway to success. The current realities in Trinidad and Tobago tell a very different story. The country's strong socio-economic performance, evident in its high GDP per capita, low unemployment, and a high human development index, demonstrate that the local conditions are increasingly high to human development and favorable for talent retention. Strategic economic diversification, especially in technology, is evidence of that. So although we do acknowledge that challenges remain, they are actively being addressed and focused on by policy and innovation. Migration, therefore, is no longer forced on persons, as our opponents would assert, but rather to respond to not limited, but voluntary decisions that we see come back and reinvest into Trinidad and Tobago. I thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Adam Edmund from the Affirmative team. We now welcome the concluding speaker on the opposing side.
Good afternoon, Chair, colleagues, viewers, opposing team. Despite Trinidad and Tobago's vibrant cultural identity, its performing arts sector continues to face critical challenges in its talent. Many of our young and promising artists are forced to migrate in pursuit of furthering their education, recognition, and sustainable career paths. This trend is simply a matter of preference. It stems from a deep-rooted systematic issues which can be broken down into three key areas, such as provision of study, accreditation, and scholarship support. A major issue lies in the limited scope of the academic offerings in the performing arts. While local institutions like the University of Trinidad and Tobago and the University of the West Indies offer bachelor's degree in various disciplines, such as music, dance, theater, graduate level programs are often non-existent or narrowly focused. This leaves ambitious students with no choice but to seek opportunities overseas to continue their academic and artistic development. A clear example, David Yundi, a graduate of UTT with a specialization in Pan Studies. Despite his passion and drive to further his craft, Yundi was forced to leave Trinidad after completing his bachelor's degree because there were no master's program existing in his fields locally. For the country that prides itself on being the birthplace of the steel pan, it is alarming that it cannot accommodate the academic growth of its own pioneers. The lack of continuity in study options is a key reason for the talent drain affecting the nation. Another barrier is credibility and recognition. While local institutions offer degrees, many young artists express concerns about whether these programs are internationally accredited or competitive on a global scale. This raises an important question. Why are so many students leaving to pursue the same degree that are offered locally? The unfortunate truth is that international programs are often seen as prestigious, credible, and career-enhancing, not because the local talent or passion is lacking, but because the system does not hold up against global benchmarks. As a result, many may view staying in Trinidad to complete their education a disadvantage, especially when building a career in the international art scene, where credible and global standards matter significantly. Furthermore, even though government-assisted tuition expense program has provided opportunities for many, its systems has notable flaws, especially when it's compared to well-funded international scholarships like Fulbright program or the Shevington Scholarship. These global scholarships are better organized, offer more comprehensive financial coverage, and often comes with a structured mentorship, internship placement, and global networking opportunities. GATE, on the other hand, has unclear policies, frequent adjustments to eligibility, and no coverage for postgraduate studies, which was dismantled in 2020. Which, as a result, students often feel safer and more secure in pursuing international scholarships where they are more likely to be supported financially and professionally. In addition, some notable persons who had an artistic migration would be Dr. Mia Gormady Benjamin, an assistant professor at UTT, who earned her doctorate in philosophy and musicology from Florida State University, an institution overseas that offers the kind of advanced research infrastructure that is not available locally. Another example, Liam Teague, who is regarded globally as a master steel panist, is an associate professor and a head of steel pan studies at the University of Illinois. His journey too reflects the harsh reality that global recognition often comes through foreign institutions. I can go on to say for students who specialize in Western instruments like oboe or a violin, the situation is much more acute, with no master's program available locally for orchestral studies. They are forced to migrate with their talents to gain the level of training and exposure where necessary to thrive professionally. While Trinidad and Tobago is rich in talent and culture, the systematic shortcomings in education, accreditation, and financial support make it extremely difficult to retain its brightest minds in the performing arts, sports, and entrepreneurship. Until serious reforms are made, particularly in expanding postgraduate opportunities, ensuring international accreditation and scholarship programs, young artists, athletes, students, young professionals will continue to look abroad for success. And I would like to reiterate, they are not leaving because they want to. They are leaving because they have to. Thank you.
Thank you to all our speakers for their insightful and passionate contributions. The judges will now take some time to deliberate. During this time, we invite members of the audience to do the crowd vote. I would like the 4 team to just stand so you all could see who is who. All right, so from the affirmative side, we have Kiran Ragbir. At the front here, you could give a wave so everybody knows who you are. Right? Mr. Tevon George. Yeah, we could clap. Zion Benjamin. And Adam Edmund. And on the against side, we have Miss Marquise Acres, Mr. Zachariah Goodridge, Miss Jhada Charles, and Miss Kesiah Joseph. On the crowd favorites slip, there's a name, Jada McLeod. That person was replaced by Adam Edmund, so there needs to be a change if you would like to vote for him. Thank you all for your time. We will resume the festival program now at 3. And at 4, we will announce the debate, so the debate winners. So if everyone can stick around, have something to eat, and come back in time to hear who has won the debate. Thank you.